This is crazy HOA life. I saved every receipt and every timestamp. You are out of compliance. Lisa Baker yelled that the bylaws were old and therefore irrelevant. She waved a laminated policy sheet inches from my face on the porch. I stood there with my phone in one hand and a violation notice in the other, barely controlling the anger boiling in my chest. The notice claimed I had installed unauthorized exterior lighting 2 weeks ago. I had not touched a single fixture in 6 months. Lisa chairs the architectural committee for the Sequoia Terrace Property Owners Association here in Detroit, Michigan. She treats every rule like scripture and every resident like a defendant. I am an accountant who keeps a clean ledger and receipts for everything, so when she showed up at 7 in the morning with a backdated enforcement letter, I knew exactly what I was looking at. This was not my first rodeo with Sequoia Terrace. 3 years ago, another resident got hit with a similar phantom violation, paid the fine under protest, and moved out 6 months later. Nobody ever figured out how the paperwork got backdated or who signed off on the inspection report. The case went cold. Now it was happening again, and this time it was happening to me. I checked my watch. I had a client call in 2 hours and a contract deadline this afternoon. Missing a day could end the job, and Lisa knew it. She smiled when she saw me glance at the time. "I have a deadline today," I said. "I cannot deal with this right now." "That is not my problem," Lisa said. "The violation stands. You have 48 hours to remove the fixtures or we tow your car for repeat non-compliance. We can tow first and explain later. That is how enforcement works." I felt my jaw tighten. Tow my car? For lighting I never installed? I looked past her and saw a paper shredder bin sitting on the curb 2 houses down, overflowing with strips. No readable text, just a mountain of confetti. Someone had been busy. "I need to see the original inspection report," I said. Lisa tapped the laminated sheet. "It is all here. You signed the acknowledgement when you closed on the property." "I never signed anything about exterior lighting." "Then you did not read your closing packet," she said. "I am the reason this neighborhood stays civilized. If you want to appeal, you can submit a written request to the board. Deadline is noon today." She turned and walked down the steps. I watched her pull out her phone and start recording a voice memo as she headed toward the mailbox cluster. I checked my watch again. Noon was 5 hours away, and I had no idea where to start. I went inside and pulled up my closing documents. I have every file backed up in 3 places because that is what accountants do. I searched for any mention of exterior lighting restrictions. Nothing. I checked the architectural guidelines from 2021. Still nothing. Then I opened the bylaws packet from 2018 and found a section on common area lighting, but it only covered street lamps and shared pathways. Individual porch lights were not mentioned at all. I took a screenshot and sent it to my phone. Then I called the property management company. A woman answered on the 4th ring and said the regional supervisor was out until Monday. I explained the situation and she put me on hold. When she came back, she said Lisa had already filed the violation and the board packet was being finalized this afternoon. If I wanted to appeal, I had to get my evidence included before it was sealed. "I need to upload documents to the portal," I said. "The portal is down for maintenance," she said. "You will have to email them directly." I hung up and tried the portal anyway. The login screen loaded, but when I tried to upload a PDF, the progress bar froze at 92% and timed out. I tried again. Same result. I checked the time. 40 minutes until my client call. I sent an email to the board with my screenshots attached and a 1-paragraph explanation. Then I grabbed my phone and walked back outside. Lisa was still at the mailbox cluster, talking to another resident and pointing at a clipboard. I recorded a short video of her standing there, then turned the camera toward my porch. The fixtures were original builder-grade sconces. I had not touched them since I moved in. I recorded that too. My phone buzzed. The board email bounced back. Invalid recipient address. I checked the HOA website and found a different email. I resent the message. Another bounce. I tried the management company email. That one went through, but I got an auto reply saying responses could take 3 to 5 business days. I went back inside and opened my files again. This time I searched for the name of the previous resident who got hit with the phantom violation. His name was Marcus. I found his contact info in an old neighborhood group chat from 2022. I sent him a text explaining what was happening and asking if he still had his paperwork. He replied in under a minute, "Dude, get out. They will bleed you dry." I fought for 6 months and lost $2,000 in fees. "Do you still have the violation notice?" I asked. "Yeah, but it will not help. They shredded everything after I moved. No records, no trail." I stared at the message. Shredded. Just like the bin on the curb. I called Marcus. He picked up on the second ring and I heard traffic in the background. "They are doing it again," I said. "Backdated violation, phantom inspection, everything." Marcus laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "Lisa? How did you know?" "Because she did the same thing to me," he said. "She claimed I installed a satellite dish without approval. I never had a dish. She showed up with a notice dated 2 weeks earlier, said I missed the appeal deadline, and hit me with daily fines. By the time I got a lawyer involved, the fees were bigger than the dish would have cost." "Did you ever figure out how she backdated the paperwork?" "No," Marcus said, "but I know she had help. The property manager at the time was her friend. They both left around the same time I moved out. New management came in, and I thought it was over." "It is not over," I said. "Then you need to prove she is doing it on purpose," Marcus said. "Get everything in writing, record every conversation, and whatever you do, do not pay a dime until you see the original signed inspection report." I thanked him and hung up. Then I opened my laptop and started digging. I pulled up the HOA meeting minutes from the last 3 years and searched for any mention of architectural violations. There were dozens, but most of them were resolved with warnings or small fines. Only 3 cases escalated to towing or liens. All 3 involved the same property manager signature. All 3 were closed within weeks of the violation date. And all 3 happened during months when Lisa was listed as the acting secretary, which gave her access to the minute drafts before they were finalized. I took screenshots of every page. Then I checked the metadata on the PDFs. 2 of them showed creation dates that were weeks after the supposed violation dates. Someone had created the documents retroactively and backdated the timestamps. I saved everything to a new folder and labeled it Cold Case. My client call started and I forced myself to focus for 90 minutes. When it ended, I checked my email. Nothing from the board. Nothing from management. I checked the portal again. Still down. I grabbed my keys and drove to the management office. It was a small building on the edge of a strip mall, wedged between a tax prep service and a dry cleaner. I parked and walked inside. A woman in her 50s sat behind a desk with a forced smile. She looked up when I entered. "Can I help you?" "I need to submit an appeal for a violation," I said. "The portal is down, and the email bounced." She nodded. "Name and property address?" I gave her the information, and she typed it into her computer. After a moment, she frowned. "I see the violation here," she said. "It was filed this morning by Lisa Baker. You have until noon to respond." "I know," I said. "That is why I am here. I need to submit documents." She glanced at the clock. "You have 20 minutes. I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshots. She leaned forward and scrolled through them slowly. When she finished, she looked up with a different expression. "This says there is no restriction on porch lighting in your section," she said. "That is correct," I said. "The violation is based on a rule that does not exist." She clicked her mouse a few times and pulled up a scanned image. It was the original inspection report Lisa had referenced. The signature line was blank. No inspector name, no date, no certification number. Just a blank line and a check mark next to the word non-compliance. "Who signed this?" I asked. She hesitated. "I cannot disclose that." "There is no signature," I said. She closed the window. "I will forward your appeal to the board," she said. "They will review it at the next meeting." "When is the next meeting?" "Next Thursday." "That is a week from now," I said. "The violation says I have 48 hours. She nodded. "Then you will need to comply or request an extension." I felt the anger rising again. How do I comply with a rule that does not exist? She did not answer. Instead, she printed a form and slid it across the desk. "This is the extension request," she said. "Fill it out and I will submit it with your appeal." I took the form and walked out. I sat in my car and filled out the paperwork by hand, using the steering wheel as a desk. Then I walked back inside and handed it to her. She stamped it with a loud thunk and gave me a copy. "You should hear back within 3 business days," she said. I drove home and checked my email again. Still nothing. I opened the neighborhood group chat and scrolled through the recent messages. Most of it was the usual complaints about trash pickup and parking. Then I saw a post from 2 days ago. It was Lisa, announcing a new policy requiring all exterior modifications to be pre-approved in writing, even if they were replacements of existing fixtures. The post had 16 reactions, all thumbs up or heart emojis. Nobody questioned it. I scrolled further back and found another post from Lisa, dated 6 months earlier. It was a photo of a porch with a red circle drawn around a light fixture. The caption said, "Reminder, unapproved exterior lighting is a violation. Report it to the committee." The post had been deleted and replaced with a correction that said, "Correction, only NEW installations require approval. Existing fixtures are grandfathered." I took a screenshot. Then I searched the group for Marcus. His last post was from 3 years ago, right before he moved. It was a long rant about backdated violations and selective enforcement. The post had been deleted. I could see it in the cached version on my phone, but it was gone from the live group. I drove to the management office again the next morning. The same woman was at the desk. She looked up and her forced smile flickered. "I need to see the board packet," I said. "It is not public until after the meeting," she said. "The meeting is next week," I said. "My violation deadline is today." She clicked her mouse. "Your extension was approved," she said. "You have until the meeting to resolve it." "I need to see the inspection report," I said. "I cannot provide that," she said. "Why not?" "It is an internal document," she said. "It is evidence in my appeal," I said. "I have a right to see it." She hesitated again. Then she picked up her phone and dialed a number. After a moment, she spoke quietly and hung up. "The regional supervisor will call you within 24 hours, she said. I walked out and sat in my car. I checked my watch. I had 3 hours until my next client meeting. I drove to the county clerk's office and requested a copy of the HOA's Articles of Incorporation and current bylaws. The clerk printed them for $2 a page. I took the stack to a coffee shop and spread it across a table. The bylaws were dated 2012. They listed architectural guidelines in Section 7. I flipped to that section and found a single paragraph about exterior modifications. It said all changes must be submitted in writing to the architectural committee for review. It did not define what counted as a change. It did not list specific prohibited items. It did not mention lighting at all. I kept reading. Section 12 covered violation procedures. It said all violations must be documented with a signed inspection report within 72 hours of discovery. The report must include the inspector's name, certification number, and photographic evidence. Violations not documented properly were invalid. I checked the timestamp on the report Lisa had filed. It showed a creation date of 8 days after the supposed inspection. That meant the report itself was invalid under the HOA's own bylaws. I took a photo of the relevant sections and sent them to my phone. Then I called the regional supervisor. It went to voicemail. I left a message explaining the timeline discrepancy and asking for a callback. I went home and checked my email. There was a message from Lisa. It was an email blast sent to the entire neighborhood. The subject line said, "Resident refuses community standards." The body of the email said I had installed unauthorized exterior lighting, refused to comply with the violation notice, and was now delaying the appeal process to avoid accountability. It included a photo of my porch with a red circle around the light fixtures. The email ended with, "This is exactly the kind of behavior that forces the board to take stronger enforcement action." I read it 3 times. My hands were shaking. I forwarded the email to Marcus and asked if she had done the same thing to him. He replied immediately. Yes, she sent the same email about my satellite dish. Half the neighborhood stopped talking to me. That is why I moved. I opened the group chat and saw the email had been posted there too. The reactions were already piling up. Angry faces, thumbs down, and one comment that said, "Just follow the rules like everyone else." I typed a response explaining the timeline discrepancy and the missing signature. I attached the screenshots of the bylaws. I hit send. The message appeared for about 5 seconds, then vanished. I checked the chat settings. Lisa was listed as an admin. I took a screenshot of the deleted message and saved it. Then I checked my email again. There was a new message from the management company. It said I had been charged a $50 administrative fee for filing an appeal. The fee was due immediately or daily interest would apply. I called the management office. The same woman answered. "I just got charged for filing an appeal," I said. "That is standard," she said. "It is not in the bylaws," I said. "It is in the fee schedule," she said. "Can I see the fee schedule?" "It is on the website," she said. I checked the website. There was no fee schedule. I called back. "It is not on the website," I said. "Then you will need to request it in writing," she said. I hung up and sent an email requesting the fee schedule. It bounced. I tried the alternate address. Another bounce. I tried calling again. Voicemail. I kept my plan quiet because the HOA depends on controlling the narrative. I knew Lisa was waiting for me to blow up in public so she could use it as more evidence. Instead, I went back to the county clerk and requested all recorded liens and violations for the Sequoia Terrace Property Owners Association over the last 5 years. The clerk printed them for me. It was 43 pages. I sat in my car and read through every page. There were 12 violations total. 8 were resolved with warnings. 4 escalated to fines and liens. All 4 of the escalated cases showed the same pattern: backdated inspection reports, missing signatures, and creation timestamps that did not match the violation dates. All 4 involved properties that sold within a year of the violation. And all 4 happened during months when Lisa was listed as the Architectural Committee Chair or Acting Secretary. I took photos of every page. Then I drove to a print shop and made 3 copies of the entire stack. I put 1 copy in my safe, 1 in my car, and one in a folder labeled Evidence. My phone buzzed. It was Marcus. He had sent me a PDF. The file was labeled Baker Violation 2022. I opened it and saw his original violation notice. The formatting was identical to mine. Same font, same layout, same red circle around the photo. The signature line was blank on his too. I replied, "Did you ever report this?" Marcus wrote back, "I tried. The board said it was an internal matter. The property manager said she could not verify the signature because the original inspector left the company." I gave up. "Do you remember the inspector's name?" Marcus sent me a name. I searched for it online and found a LinkedIn profile. The guy was a retired contractor who did part-time inspections for property management companies. His profile said he stopped working for Sequoia Terrace in 2021. I sent him a message explaining the situation and asking if he had ever inspected my property or Marcus's property. He replied within an hour, "I never inspected either address. I only did common area inspections for Sequoia Terrace. If someone used my name on a violation report, it was not me." I asked if he would be willing to confirm that in writing. He said yes and sent me a signed statement as a PDF. I saved it to my evidence folder. I called the regional supervisor again. This time she picked up. "This is about Sequoia Terrace," I said. "I know," she said. "I got your message. I am reviewing the file now." "The inspection report is fraudulent," I said. "The inspector never worked on individual properties. The signature line is blank. The creation timestamp does not match the violation date. This is the same pattern that happened 3 years ago." She was quiet for a moment. "Can you send me what you have?" "I can," I said, "but I need to know if you are going to act on it." "I will review it," she said. "If there is evidence of procedural violations, I will escalate it to the board." "The board is the problem," I said. "Lisa Baker is the architectural committee chair. She has access to the minute drafts. She has admin rights on the group chat. She is the one backdating the reports." "That is a serious accusation," she said. "I have documentation," I said. "Send it to me," she said. "I will call you back by end of business tomorrow." I hung up and emailed her the full evidence folder. Then I checked the group chat. Lisa had posted a new message. It said, "The resident in question has now accused the board of fraud. This is unacceptable. We will be discussing legal action at the next meeting." I took a screenshot. Then I went outside and checked my porch. The light fixtures were untouched. I recorded another video showing the date and timestamp, then went back inside. My phone buzzed again. It was a text from an unknown number. The message said, "You need to drop this. You are making it worse for yourself." I did not respond. Instead, I saved the screenshot and added it to the evidence folder. The next morning, I got a call from the regional supervisor. "I reviewed your materials," she said. "There are definitely procedural issues. But I need to see the original inspection report before I can confirm fraud." "The management office would not give it to me," I said. "I will request it directly," she said. "In the meantime, I am putting a hold on the violation. You will not be charged any fees or fines until this is resolved." "What about the email blast?" I asked. "That is outside my jurisdiction," she said. "You would need to take that up with the board directly." I hung up and checked my email. There was a new message from Lisa. It said, "Your extension has been revoked due to false accusations against the committee. You are now in violation and subject to immediate enforcement." I called the regional supervisor back. Voicemail. I called the management office. Voicemail. I checked the portal. Still down. I drove to the management office again. The same woman was at the desk. Before I could speak, She held up her hand. Lisa is on her way, she said. She requested a meeting. I did not request a meeting, I said. She did, the woman said. I turned and saw Lisa walking through the parking lot. She was carrying her ring binder and a rolled-up piece of paper. She walked in and stopped when she saw me. You need to leave, she said. I have a right to be here, I said. You are harassing the staff, Lisa said. I am documenting this. She pulled out her phone and started recording. The woman at the desk stood up. This is not the place, she said. Lisa ignored her. She stepped closer to me and held up the rolled-up paper. It was a copy of the violation notice. She unrolled it and pointed at the bottom. This is a legally binding enforcement action, she said. You are in violation. You have 48 hours to comply, or we will tow your vehicle and place a lien on your property. We can tow first and explain later. That is how enforcement works. I pulled out my phone and opened the signed statement from the inspector. I held it up so Lisa could see it. This is a statement from the inspector you claimed signed the report, I said. He says he never inspected my property. The report is fraudulent. Lisa leaned in and squinted at the screen. Then she laughed. That is not admissible, she said. Anyone can forge a statement. It is notarized, I said. Then you paid someone to lie, she said. The woman at the desk stepped between us. That is enough, she said. Lisa, you need to leave. This is not how we handle appeals. I am the architectural committee chair, Lisa said. I have authority to enforce violations. Not in this office, the woman said. If you want to discuss the appeal, you can do it at the board meeting. Lisa turned and walked out. She stopped at the door and looked back. You are done, she said. I am the reason this neighborhood stays civilized. If you do not like it, move. She left. I stood there with my phone still in my hand. The woman at the desk sat down and typed something into her computer. I am noting this interaction in the file, she said. The regional supervisor will call you. I drove home and checked my email. There was a new message from the board. It said, emergency hearing scheduled for Friday at 6 p.m. Attendance mandatory. Failure to attend will result in automatic violation confirmation. I called Marcus. He picked up on the first ring. They are doing it again, I said. Emergency hearing. Automatic confirmation if I do not show up. Do not go, Marcus said. It is a trap. They will railroad you in front of everyone and you will not have a chance to present evidence. I have to go, I said. If I do not, the violation stands. Then bring a lawyer, Marcus said. I cannot afford a lawyer right now, I said. Then bring a witness, he said. Bring someone who can film it. Do not let them control the narrative. I thought about it. Then I called the former property management employee Marcus had mentioned. Her name was Angela. She answered on the third ring. I heard what is happening, she said. Lisa did the same thing when I worked there. That is why I quit. Can you come to the hearing? I asked. I can, she said, but I need to warn you, they are going to try to shut you down. Lisa has the board trained. They vote the way she tells them to. I just need someone to see it, I said. I will be there, Angela said. Friday came. I arrived at the community center at 5:45. The parking lot was half full. I walked inside and saw a folding table at the front of the room with 5 chairs. Lisa was already seated at the far end, flipping through her ring binder. 2 other board members sat beside her. The rest of the chairs were filling up with residents. I recognized a few faces from the group chat. Angela walked in behind me. She nodded and took a seat in the back row. I sat in the middle section and pulled out my folder. The board president called the meeting to order at 6 p.m. He was a man in his 60s with reading glasses and a tired expression. He read through the agenda quickly, then looked up. "We have one violation appeal tonight," he said. "Property address." He read my address. "The resident is present. Lisa, you filed the violation. Can you summarize?" Lisa stood up and walked to the front. She opened her binder and pulled out a sheet of paper. She held it up so everyone could see. "This resident installed unauthorized exterior lighting in direct violation of Section 7 of the Bylaws," she said. "He was notified on the appropriate date. He refused to comply. He then filed a false appeal and accused the committee of fraud. This is unacceptable behavior, and it sets a dangerous precedent for the community." She sat down. The board president looked at me. "Do you have a response?" I stood up. I pulled out my folder and opened it to the first page. "The inspection report is fraudulent," I said. "The inspector whose name appears on the report has provided a signed statement confirming he never inspected my property. The creation timestamp on the report shows it was created 8 days after the supposed inspection date, which violates the HOA's own bylaws. Section 12 requires all violations to be documented within 72 hours. This was not." I held up the inspector's statement. Lisa stood up again. "That statement is not authenticated," she said. "It could be forged." "It is notarized," I said. "Anyone can pay a notary," Lisa said. The board president held up his hand. "Do you have the original inspection report, Lisa?" Lisa flipped through her binder. She pulled out a sheet and handed it to him. He looked at it for a moment, then frowned. "There is no signature on this," he said. "The inspector left the company," Lisa said. "We do not have access to his signature." "Then the report is invalid," I said. "Section 12 requires a signed inspection report. Without a signature, there is no documentation." The board president looked at the other members. They whispered among themselves. Then he looked back at Lisa. "Do we have any other documentation?" he asked. Lisa hesitated. Then she said, "We have photographic evidence." She pulled out a photo and handed it to him. It was the same red circle image from the email blast. The board president studied it, then looked at me. "Is this your porch?" "Yes," I said. "But those fixtures were installed by the builder. I have not modified them." "Do you have proof of that?" he asked. "I have my closing documents," I said. "They list all existing fixtures. I also have a video showing the fixtures are original builder-grade sconces." I pulled out my phone and played the video. The board president watched it, then nodded. "This looks like original equipment," he said. Lisa stood up again. "The bylaws require pre-approval for ALL exterior modifications," she said. "Even replacements." "Show me where it says that," I said. Lisa opened her binder and flipped through several pages. She stopped and pointed at a paragraph. "Right here," she said. "Section 7, subsection B." I walked to the front and looked at the page. The text said all changes must be submitted in writing to the architectural committee. It did not define changes. It did not mention replacements. "This does not say replacements require approval," I said. "It is implied," Lisa said. "The bylaws do not work on implications," I said. "They work on explicit language. If replacements required approval, it would say so." Lisa slammed her binder shut. "This is exactly what I am talking about," she said. "This resident is trying to rewrite the rules to suit himself. If we allow this, everyone will start ignoring the bylaws." The board president held up his hand again. "Let's take a vote," he said. "All in favor of upholding the violation?" Lisa raised her hand. One other board member raised their hand. The other two did not. "All in favor of dismissing the violation?" the board president asked. The other two board members raised their hands. The president paused, then raised his own hand. "The violation is dismissed," he said. Lisa stood up and pointed at the board president. "This is a mistake," she said. "You are setting a precedent that will destroy this community." "The decision is made," the board president said. Lisa grabbed her binder and walked out. The room was silent. Angela stood up and walked to the front. She introduced herself as a former property manager and asked if she could speak. The board president nodded. "I worked for the previous management company," Angela said. "I quit because Lisa was pressuring me to backdate violation reports. She wanted to target specific residents who questioned her authority. I refused, and she had me removed from the account. What happened tonight is the same pattern I saw 3 years ago." The board president looked uncomfortable. "Do you have documentation of this?" "I have emails," Angela said. "I can provide them if needed." "Please do," the board president said. The meeting ended. I walked out with Angela. In the parking lot, I thanked her for coming. "You need to keep pushing," she said. "Lisa is not going to stop. She has too much invested in this." "I know," I said. I drove home and checked my email. There was a new message from Lisa. It said, "The board made a mistake tonight. I am filing a formal complaint against you for harassment and defamation. You will be hearing from our attorney." I forwarded the email to Angela and asked if she had seen this before. She replied yes. She did the same thing to Marcus. The complaint went nowhere because she had no case. But it tied him up for months. I saved the email and added it to the evidence folder. Then I opened my laptop and started searching for the previous property manager. I found her LinkedIn profile and sent her a message. She replied the next morning. "I remember the Baker situation," she wrote. "Lisa wanted me to sign blank inspection reports so she could fill them in later. I refused. She complained to the board and they terminated the contract. That is why Angela and I both left." I asked if she would provide a statement. She said yes and sent me a signed affidavit as a PDF. I now had 3 signed statements from people who had worked directly with Lisa. I also had the metadata from the backdated reports. I had the email blast. I had the deleted group chat message. And I had the recording of Lisa threatening to tow my car without due process. I kept my plan quiet because the HOA depends on controlling the narrative. I did not post anything in the group chat. I did not respond to Lisa's complaint email. Instead, I compiled everything into a single PDF and labeled it Cold Case Evidence Package. Then I sent it to the regional supervisor, the board president, and every homeowner in the association whose email I could find in the old group chat archives. The email went out at 6 a.m. on Monday. By noon, my phone was ringing nonstop. Neighbors I had never spoken to were calling to ask if the documents were real. The regional supervisor called and said she was launching a formal investigation. The board president called and said there would be an emergency board meeting that night. If you are enjoying this story, please hit the like button and subscribe for more HOA drama and satisfying payback. Lisa did not call. Instead, she posted in the group chat. The message said, "The so-called evidence being circulated is fabricated. I have never backdated a report or pressured any employee. This is a coordinated attack by a disgruntled resident who refuses to follow the rules." The post stayed up for about 10 minutes. Then it was deleted and replaced with a correction that said, "Correction. The board is investigating the claims and will issue a statement after review." I checked my email. There was a message from the regional supervisor. It said, "We are suspending all pending violations and fines until the investigation is complete. We are also placing Lisa Baker on administrative leave from the Architectural Committee pending review." I forwarded the email to Marcus. He replied with a single word, "Finally." The emergency board meeting happened that night. I did not attend. Angela went and recorded the whole thing. She sent me the audio file afterward. The meeting lasted 2 hours. The board president opened by reading a summary of the evidence. Then he asked Lisa to respond. Lisa denied everything. She said the signed statements were fabricated. She said the metadata was manipulated. She said the email blast was justified because I was refusing to comply. She said the deleted group chat message was removed because it contained false information. One of the board members interrupted her. "If the message was false, why did you not post a correction?" Lisa hesitated. "I did post a correction," she said. "No, you deleted it," the board member said. "There is a difference." Another board member asked about the blank inspection reports. Lisa said she had no knowledge of that. Angela stood up and said she had the emails proving Lisa had requested them. Lisa called her a liar. The board president told Lisa to sit down. The meeting ended with a vote to remove Lisa from the Architectural Committee and refer the matter to an attorney for further review. The vote was 4-1. Lisa was the only no vote. Angela sent me a text after the meeting. "It's over. She's done." I wanted to believe her, but I knew Lisa was not finished. The next morning, I got a letter in the mail. It was from an attorney representing Lisa personally. The letter said I had defamed her by circulating false accusations. It demanded a public retraction and a settlement payment of $5,000. If I did not comply within 10 days, she would file a lawsuit. I called a lawyer. He reviewed the evidence and laughed. "She has no case," he said. "Everything you sent is documented and verifiable. If she sues, she will lose." "What do I do?" I asked. "Ignore it," he said. "Do not respond. Let her waste her money if she wants to file." I hung up and checked the group chat. There was a new post from the board president. It said, "The investigation into the Architectural Committee practices is ongoing. We have identified multiple procedural violations and are working with legal counsel to address them. All residents affected by potentially invalid violations will be contacted directly." The post had over 30 reactions. Most of them were thumbs up and heart emojis. One comment said, "About time." I kept working. I kept checking my email. I kept waiting for the next move. It came 2 days later. I got a call from the regional supervisor. "We found something," she said. "What?" Lisa had access to the management portal under a shared admin account, she said. "We pulled the audit logs. She accessed the violation module 17 times over the last 3 years. Every access corresponds to one of the disputed cases. And in every case, she created the violation record after the supposed inspection date." "Can you prove that?" I asked. "We have screenshots of the audit logs," she said. "Timestamps, IP addresses, login credentials. It is all there." "What happens now?" I asked. "We are terminating her access and referring the matter to the board for formal action," she said. "We are also offering refunds to every resident who paid fines related to invalid violations." I got a refund check 3 weeks later. It was for the administrative fee I had been charged for filing the appeal. The letter attached said the fee was improperly applied, and the board had revised the fee schedule to prevent future issues. I also got a letter from the board. It said Lisa Baker had resigned from the Architectural Committee and would no longer participate in HOA governance. The letter did not mention the fraud. It did not mention the backdated reports. It just said she had resigned. I called Angela and asked if she knew what happened. They gave her a choice, Angela said. Resign quietly or face a formal hearing with possible legal action. She chose to resign. So she gets away with it, I said. Not exactly, Angela said. The board voted to change the enforcement procedures. All violations now require a third-party inspection with a signed report. No board member can create a violation without independent verification. And they added a new section to the bylaws that says residents cannot be railroaded without a chance to present evidence. That was exactly what Seed_Canon HOA consequence said would happen. The HOA changes hearing rules, so residents cannot be railroaded. But it still felt incomplete. What about the people she targeted before me? I asked. They are getting refunds too, Angela said, and the board sent a letter to everyone explaining what happened. Lisa's name was not mentioned, but everyone knows. I hung up and checked the group chat. There was a new post from the board president. It said, "We have completed our review of past violations and have identified several cases that did not follow proper procedure. Affected residents have been contacted directly. We apologize for any inconvenience and have implemented new safeguards to prevent this from happening again." The post had over 50 reactions. One comment said, "What about the person who caused this?" Another said, "We deserve to know who is responsible." The board president replied, "We are not naming individuals, but appropriate action has been taken." I wanted to feel satisfied. I wanted to feel like justice had been served. But all I felt was tired. Then I got a notification. Someone had posted a screenshot in the group chat. It was a post from Lisa's personal Facebook page. The post said, "I am stepping away from HOA leadership to focus on my family. I am proud of the work I did to keep our community safe and orderly." Some people do not appreciate that, but I know the truth. The screenshot had been shared to the group chat by someone else. The caption said, "This is what accountability looks like to her." I did not comment. I just watched as the reactions piled up. Angry faces. Laughing emojis. One comment said, "Good riddance." Then Angela posted a follow-up. She said, "For those asking, yes, this is the person responsible for the backdated violations. Yes, the board has documentation. No, they will not release it publicly. But the policy changes are real and enforceable." The group chat exploded. People started sharing their own stories. Someone said Lisa had threatened to tow their car for parking in their own driveway. Someone else said she had filed a complaint about holiday decorations that were within the rules. Another person said she had tried to find them for a mailbox that was the wrong shade of black. I read through every comment. It was like watching a dam break. The next day, the board president posted again. This time the message was longer. It said, "We have heard from many residents about past interactions with the architectural committee. We take these concerns seriously. As part of our review, we are implementing a new appeals process that allows residents to challenge any committee decision with a documented appeal that overturns the decision on the record. We are also creating an oversight committee to review all enforcement actions before they are finalized." That was the payback vector from Seed_Canon. A documented appeal that overturns the decision on the record. It was exactly what I had wanted from the beginning. But the Karen consequence was still incomplete. Her Facebook post was still up. Her version of the story was still out there. Then I got a message from Angela. She said, "Check the group chat." I opened it and saw a new post from the board president. It said, "We have been made aware of a social media post that misrepresents the recent board actions." To clarify, the architectural committee member in question was not stepping away voluntarily. She was removed due to procedural violations and misuse of HOA resources. This action was taken after a thorough investigation and review of documented evidence. The board stands by this decision. Lisa's group post gets removed and replaced with a correction. That was the Karen consequence from seed_canown. And it was happening in real time. I checked Lisa's Facebook page. The post was gone. In its place was a new post that said, "I have been advised by counsel not to comment further on HOA matters." The comments below were brutal. Person after person said she had gotten what she deserved. Someone posted a link to the board statement. Another person posted a screenshot of the audit log showing the backdated violations. I closed the app and sat back. It was over. Lisa was done. The policies were changed. The refunds were issued. The cold case was solved. But I still had one thing left to do. I went to the next board meeting. I signed up for public comment. When my turn came, I walked to the front and opened my laptop. "I want to thank the board for taking action," I said. "But I also want to make sure this does not happen again. I have compiled a full timeline of the violations and the procedural failures. I am submitting it to the board for the record. I am also requesting that it be made available to all residents so everyone understands what happened." I handed the board president a USB drive. He took it and nodded. "We will review it," he said. "I also want to address the residents who were targeted before me," I said. "You deserve to know that your cases have been reviewed. You deserve refunds. And you deserve an apology." The board president looked uncomfortable. "We have already issued refunds," he said. "But you have not apologized," I said. He paused. Then he nodded. "You're right. On behalf of the board, I apologize to all residents who were affected by improper enforcement actions. We failed to provide adequate oversight. That will not happen again." The room was silent. Then someone started clapping. It was Angela. Then someone else joined in. Within seconds, the whole room was clapping. I sat down. The meeting continued. But I was not really listening anymore. I was thinking about Marcus and the others who had moved out. I was thinking about the shredder bin full of strips. I was thinking about the blank signature lines and the backdated timestamps. And I was thinking about how close I had come to giving up. After the meeting, I walked out to the parking lot. Angela was waiting by her car. "You did good," she said. "I just wanted it on the record," I said. "It is," she said, "and now everyone knows." I drove home and checked my email one last time. There was a message from Marcus. It said, "I heard what you did. Thank you. I wish I had fought harder." I replied, "You did what you could. Now it is fixed." He sent back a thumbs up emoji. I closed my laptop and looked out the window. The rain had stopped. The puddles were still there, showing fresh tracks at the curb. The streetlights were on. The neighborhood looked the same as it always had. But it was different now. The rules were different. The oversight was different. And Lisa was gone. I checked my watch. It was late. I had a client meeting in the morning. I had deadlines to meet. Life was moving on. But before I went to bed, I opened the evidence folder one more time. I scrolled through the screenshots and the signed statements and the audit logs. I had kept every piece of proof, every timestamp, every deleted message, every backdated report. And I had one more thing. I pulled out my phone and opened the video I had recorded the day Lisa confronted me on the porch. I had not shown it to anyone yet. I had been saving it. The video showed Lisa walking up to my porch. It showed her pulling out the laminated policy sheet. It showed her pointing at the light fixtures and demanding I remove them. And then it showed her saying the words that would become the centerpiece of my case. "We can tow first and explain later. That is how enforcement works." That line came back to bite her in the most satisfying way possible. Because when the board reviewed the audit logs and the backdated reports, they found that Lisa had used that exact approach 17 times. She had created violations first and manufactured the justification later. She had towed first and explained never. And now, it was part of the board's official findings. The new enforcement policy explicitly prohibited any action without prior documentation. Lisa's own words had become the rule that would prevent anyone from following in her footsteps. I watched the video one more time. Then I saved it to the evidence folder and closed my phone. The next few weeks were quiet. I went to work. I met my deadlines. I stopped checking the group chat every 5 minutes. The neighborhood felt normal again. But then I got a call from the regional supervisor. She said she had been reviewing the old cases and found something interesting. What? I asked. The previous property manager who worked with Lisa, she said. She did not just leave. She was paid a settlement by the HOA to drop a harassment complaint. Against Lisa? Yes, the supervisor said. The complaint alleged that Lisa had pressured her to falsify records and threatened her job when she refused. The board settled to avoid litigation, but the complaint file is still in the records. Can I see it? I asked. I can send you a redacted copy, she said. But you should know, the settlement included a non-disclosure clause. The property manager cannot talk about it publicly. Does Angela know? I asked. I do not think so, the supervisor said. The settlement was signed before she started working there. I hung up and waited for the email. It arrived an hour later. I opened the PDF and read through the complaint. It was worse than I thought. Lisa had not just pressured the property manager to backdate reports. She had created a system. She would identify residents she wanted to target, usually people who had questioned her authority or filed complaints about her behavior. Then, she would manufacture violations by creating inspection reports for properties she had never visited. She would use the shared admin account to create the records, backdate them, and assign them to properties she wanted to pressure. When residents challenged the violations, she would delete evidence and claim the records had been lost or shredded. The complaint included email screenshots, portal audit logs, and a detailed timeline. It was everything I had suspected, but with proof going back 5 years. I forwarded the email to Angela and asked if she knew about the settlement. She replied, I knew there was a settlement, but I never saw the details. This is worse than I thought. What do we do with it? I asked. Angela wrote back, the NDA only applies to the property manager. You are not bound by it. If you want to share this with the board, you can. I thought about it. Then I forwarded the complaint to the board president with a note that said, this is why the policy changes matter. This was not a one-time mistake. This was a system. He replied within an hour. Thank you for sharing this. We will be discussing it at the next meeting. The next meeting was scheduled for 2 weeks later. I marked it on my calendar and kept working. But Lisa was not done yet. 3 days before the meeting, I got a notice in the mail. It was from a law firm representing Lisa. The notice said I had violated the HOA's confidentiality policy by sharing internal documents without authorization. It demanded I stop distributing the materials and delete all copies. If I did not comply, they would seek an injunction and damages. I called my lawyer. He read the notice and laughed again. There is no confidentiality policy, he said. The HOA bylaws do not include one. And even if they did, public records are not confidential. What do I do? I asked. Nothing, he said. This is a bluff. If they file, we will crush them. I did not respond to the notice. Instead, I sent a copy to the board president and the regional supervisor. The board president replied, "We are aware of the letter. Our attorney is handling it." The meeting came. I showed up early and took a seat in the front row. Angela was already there. The board members arrived and took their seats. Lisa did not show up. The board president called the meeting to order. He read through the agenda, then paused. "Before we begin, I want to address the letter that was sent to one of our residents," he said. "The board has reviewed the matter with our attorney. The letter is without merit." The resident in question acted within their rights by sharing public records and documented evidence. The board fully supports their actions and will not tolerate any attempt to intimidate residents who exercise their rights. The room erupted in applause. I felt my chest tighten. It was the first time anyone in authority had publicly backed me up. The board president continued, "We have also completed our review of the complaint filed by the former property manager. Based on that review and the evidence provided by multiple residents, we have determined that the former architectural committee chair engaged in a pattern of misconduct that violated HOA policies and state law. We are referring the matter to the State Attorney General's office for further investigation."
More applause! Someone in the back shouted, "Finally!"
The board president held up his hand. "We are also implementing additional safeguards. All committee members will now be required to complete annual training on ethical governance. All enforcement actions will be reviewed by an independent third party before they are finalized. And we are establishing a resident ombudsman position to handle complaints about board or committee conduct." He paused. "I know this has been a difficult time for the community, but I believe we are stronger for having gone through it. We have learned hard lessons, and we are committed to making sure this never happens again." The meeting continued with routine business, but I was not paying attention. I was thinking about the funny karma beat that was about to happen. Near the end of the meeting, the board opened the floor for public comment. A woman in her 40s stood up. She said her name was Jennifer, and she had been fined by Lisa 2 years ago for having a wreath on her door in July. "I paid the fine because I did not know how to fight it," Jennifer said. "But now I know it was invalid. I want my money back." The board president nodded. "We will review your case and issue a refund if appropriate." Then another resident stood up, and another. By the time public comment ended, 7 residents had shared stories of invalid fines and backdated violations. The board took notes and promised to review every case. But the best moment came right before the meeting adjourned. The board president said there was one more item of business. "We received a motion from the floor requesting that we vote on whether to ban the former architectural committee chair from attending future board meetings," he said. The motion was submitted by 15 residents. "Do we have a second?" 3 board members raised their hands. "All in favor?" All 5 board members raised their hands. "The motion passes," the board president said. "Lisa Baker is banned from attending board meetings pending the outcome of the Attorney General's investigation." Karen tries to interrupt and the meeting votes anyway. That was the funny karma beat from Seed_Cannon. Except Lisa was not even there to interrupt. She had been voted out in absentia. It was perfect. The meeting ended. Angela and I walked out together. In the parking lot, she stopped and turned to me. "You did it," she said. "You solved the cold case, you caught her, and you made sure it could not happen again." "I just followed the evidence," I said. "That is more than most people do," Angela said. I drove home and checked my email. There was a message from the regional supervisor. It said, "The Attorney General's office has opened an investigation into the HOA's enforcement practices. They have requested all records related to violations filed over the last 5 years." This is a significant development. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. I forwarded the email to Marcus. He replied, You are a legend. I did not feel like a legend. I felt like someone who had just survived something exhausting. But then I got another email. This one was from Jennifer, the woman who had spoken at the meeting. She said, "Thank you for fighting. I did not have the courage to do it alone. But you showed me it was possible. I got my refund today." I replied, "You deserved it." Over the next few days, I got more messages like that. Residents I had never met thanking me for reopening the case. Neighbors apologizing for not speaking up sooner. Former residents asking if they could still file claims for refunds. I answered every message. I sent them the evidence package. I gave them the contact info for the regional supervisor and the board president. I told them to keep pushing. And then I got a message from Lisa. It was short. It said, "You ruined my reputation. I hope you are proud of yourself." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I replied, "You ruined your own reputation. I just documented it." She did not reply. I deleted the message and closed my email. Then I opened the evidence folder one last time. I had kept everything. Every screenshot, every email, every audit log, every signed statement. And I had one final piece of evidence that I had not shared yet. I pulled out my phone and opened the video I had recorded on the day Lisa confronted me. The video that showed her walking past my porch, stopping, looking around, and then pulling out her phone to take a photo of my light fixtures. The video that showed her creating the violation in real time. I had a video clip of Karen threatening me that clearly crosses into harassment. That was the trump card type from Seed_Cannon, and I had deployed it exactly as planned. I send it to the board and homeowners at the same time so nobody can bury it. That was the trump card deploy. The video had been the final piece that forced the board to act. Because it was not just evidence of a backdated report, it was evidence of intent. It showed Lisa deliberately targeting my property, manufacturing a violation, and then lying about the timeline. And now, it was part of the official record. Part of the Attorney General's investigation. Part of the reason Lisa would never hold HOA authority again. I saved the video one more time. Then, I closed the folder and shut down my laptop. It was done. The cold case was solved. Lisa was out. The policies were changed. The HOA had to produce records under state law. The hidden emails came out, and the board had to admit the enforcement was targeted. That was the outcome from Seed_Count. And it was exactly what I had been fighting for. I went to bed that night and slept better than I had in weeks. When I woke up, I checked my email and saw another message from the board president. It said, "The Attorney General has requested your full evidence package as part of their investigation. Can you send it directly to them?" I replied, "Already done." He wrote back, "Thank you. This is going to change how HOAs operate across the state." I hoped he was right. The next few months were quieter. The Attorney General's investigation moved slowly. The board implemented the new policies. Lisa stayed silent. The group chat went back to normal conversations about trash pickup and snow removal. I kept working. I kept meeting deadlines. I stopped checking my watch every 5 minutes. But I did not forget. I kept the evidence folder backed up in 3 places. I kept the video saved on my phone. I kept the signed statements and the audit logs and the email screenshots. Because I knew that someday, someone else would need them. Someone else would face a Lisa. Someone else would get hit with a backdated violation and a threatening letter and a railroaded hearing. And when that happened, they would have a roadmap. They would have proof that it was possible to fight back. They would have evidence that the system could be changed. That is what the cold case had taught me. It was not just about catching one person. It was about fixing the system so the next person did not have to fight the same battle alone. And that is exactly what happened. 6 months later, I got a message from a resident in another HOA across town. She said she had heard about the Sequoia Terrace case. She said her HOA was doing the same thing Lisa had done: backdated violations, missing signatures, selective enforcement. She asked if I could help. I sent her the evidence folder. I sent her the contact info for the Attorney General's office. I sent her the new enforcement policies the board had implemented. I told her to document everything, record every conversation, and never give up. She thanked me and said she would fight. I hoped she would win. I closed my laptop and looked out the window. The sun was setting. The neighborhood was quiet. The streetlights were coming on. And I realized something. The cold case had never really been about the HOA. It had never really been about Lisa. It had been about standing up when it would have been easier to walk away. It had been about refusing to let someone rewrite the rules just because they had a title and a laminated policy sheet. It had been about keeping a clean ledger and making sure the receipts added up. And in the end, they did. Thanks for watching, and I appreciate you being here.